1218, a group of Mongol merchants rode into the Khwarezmian border city of Otrar. They came with official seals and letters from Genghis Khan himself. Their mission was peaceful, to open trade and establish relations with the empire ruled by Shah Muhammad II. The Mongols had just conquered northern China, and Genghis wanted access to Persian silk, grain, and craftsmanship. The Shah saw opportunity too. At least, that's how it began. When the caravan reached Otrar, its governor, Inalchuq, saw something different. To him, the merchants looked too organized, too disciplined. He accused them of being spies. Without waiting for proof, he arrested them. Weeks later, he had every one of them executed. Their goods were seized, their bodies left to rot. News of the massacre reached Genghis Khan in his capital at Karakoram. He didn't send an army, not yet. Instead, he sent 3 envoys. One Muslim to show respect for the Shah's faith, 2 Mongols to speak for him. Their message was simple: punish the governor and restore peace. The Shah's response sealed his fate. He had 1 envoy executed and the other 2 humiliated, their beards and heads shaved before being sent back. In Mongol culture, that was an insult worse than death. When the survivors returned, Genghis Khan listened quietly. Then he stood and spoke one sentence: prepare the horses. There was no council, no debate, no diplomacy. The Shah had killed Mongol guests and envoys, an unforgivable crime. Genghis Khan ordered his generals to assemble the largest army the steppe had ever seen. The order was clear: Persia would be erased. By spring 1219, the Mongol army moved west. Scouts reported the Jaxartes River flowing high with snowmelt, but the advance didn't stop. Tens of thousands of horsemen crossed on rafts made from inflated animal skins, driving herds of spare horses and oxen beside them. The invasion had begun. Genghis Khan divided his army into several forces. His sons Jachai, Chagatai, and Ojdai led separate columns. The generals Subutai and Jib rode on the flanks, scouting ahead for ambushes. Their coordination was perfect. Each division moved as if guided by one mind. Behind them came engineers and siege experts brought from China, hauling equipment on heavy carts. The Shah, hearing reports of the invasion, laughed at first. He believed the Mongols were just another group of raiders who would scatter once faced with fortified cities. He told his commanders to defend the major towns, Otrar, Bukhara, Samarkand, rather than meet the enemy in open battle. It was the worst possible choice. The Mongols thrived in movement and hated sieges, but once they learned how to take walled cities, no one could stop them. As winter approached, Genghis Khan advanced directly on Otrar. This was where his merchants had been murdered, and he wanted it destroyed first. The army surrounded the city and began digging trenches, building siege towers, and cutting off every road. The Shah had underestimated them. Genghis had no interest in a fast raid. This was going to be systematic revenge. The Jaxartes River froze behind them as the Mongols encamped. Every soldier knew this wasn't another conquest. It was punishment. The siege of Otrar lasted 5 long months. The city's thick walls and deep wells made it one of the strongest fortresses in Central Asia. But the Mongols had patience. Every day, their catapults hurled stones and fire pots over the walls. Every night, their engineers tunneled under the defenses. They diverted the city's water supply, forcing the defenders to drink from wells filled with dust and blood. Inside, the people were starving. The governor Inalchuq tried to rally them with promises of Persian reinforcements that never came. His soldiers began to desert, sneaking out through broken gates and surrendering to the Mongols. One day, a gatekeeper betrayed the city. He opened the gate for a Mongol assault, hoping for mercy. The Mongols flooded in, cutting down everyone in their path. Inalchuq barricaded himself inside the citadel with his remaining guards. For days, the Mongols attacked the fortress until the last wall collapsed. The governor was captured alive. Genghis Khan ordered him brought forward. When asked why he killed Mongol envoys, Inalchuq remained silent. The Mongol commanders didn't argue. They carried out the sentence that would become legend, molten silver poured into his eyes and ears. Otrar was burned to the ground. Its population was slaughtered or enslaved. The smoke rose so high it could be seen from miles away. Genghis left nothing standing. Before moving on, he divided his forces. One army under Jachai moved west toward the Aral Sea. Another under Chagatai and Ojdai advanced on Samarkand. Genghis himself took the central route toward Bukhara. The conquest of Persia had only just begun, but its fate was already sealed. Bukhara was one of the wealthiest cities in Central Asia, a hub of scholars, merchants, and religion. It had tall walls, deep moats, and enough soldiers to defend them. But when the Mongols appeared, the defenders froze. No one expected Genghis Khan to arrive so fast. His army moved across the plains in a storm of dust, cavalry riding in loose waves. The outer defenses fell almost immediately. Local militias tried to resist, but the Mongols broke through the gates using captured rams and siege towers. Panic spread. Within days, Bukhara surrendered. Genghis Khan entered the city on horseback, not as a conqueror pretending mercy, but as a ruler delivering judgment. He rode straight into the great mosque, dismounted, and looked around at the marble pillars and carpets. Turning to the city's elders, he said, "If you had not committed great sins, God would not have sent a punishment like me upon you." After that, his soldiers were given free rein. They looted the markets, burned the homes of nobles, and enslaved the young. Every workshop, warehouse, and temple was stripped bare. The city's scholars and officials were executed. Only a few artisans were spared and sent east to serve in Mongol workshops. By the end of the week, Bukhara was gone. Its mosques were blackened, its people scattered. The Shah was hundreds of miles away, still convinced that his capital, Samarkand, could resist. He didn't yet understand that the Mongols were not just an invading army. They were an extinction event, and Persia was next. Samarkand was the jewel of the Khwarezmian Empire, the Shah's capital and strongest fortress. Its walls were high, its armories full, and its garrison well supplied. The Shah himself had fled there after hearing of Bukhara's fall. He promised his generals that Samarkand would not fall. He was wrong. In March 1220, Mongol cavalry appeared from multiple directions, moving faster than any enemy the defenders had faced. The city was surrounded before anyone realized how large the force really was. Genghis Khan had brought siege engines from Otrar, and his engineers began firing immediately. The defenders included Turkish mercenaries, Persian soldiers, and even a line of war elephants sent by allies from India. The elephants were meant to terrify Mongol horses, but when the Mongols set fire to straw and oil near the walls, the animals panicked. They turned back, crushing their own men in the chaos. Within days, the outer walls were breached. The Shah's commanders panicked. Some surrendered entire sections of the city in exchange for promises of safety. Others tried to fight to the end. It made no difference. The Mongols swept through the streets, taking control of Samarkand block by block. The Shah escaped again, leaving his generals behind. Thousands of defenders threw down their weapons, but Genghis Khan showed no mercy. The entire garrison was executed. Skilled artisans were separated from the rest and sent to Mongolia. Everyone else was killed or enslaved. When the fighting ended, the Mongols built towers made of the skulls of the dead outside the city walls. The once great capital of Central Asia was gone in less than 2 weeks. While his empire burned, Shah Muhammad fled west. He moved from city to city, leaving behind orders no one followed. He blamed his generals for the defeats, but none of them could stop what was coming. Genghis Khan sent his best commanders, Subutai and Jib, to hunt him down. They led about 30,000 men across the mountains of Persia, moving so fast that no army could block their path. They captured city after city along the way, destroying any settlement that resisted. The Shah's retreat turned into a desperate escape. He crossed the Karakum Desert, abandoned his treasure, and even left family members behind. The Mongols chased him through northern Persia, across the Caspian steppe, and into the mountains of Azerbaijan. Everywhere they passed, they left destruction behind, not to conquer, but to erase the Shah's trail. By winter, Shah Mohammed reached an island in the Caspian Sea. Sick, starving, and alone, he realized the empire he once ruled no longer existed. He died there of illness and exhaustion, with no army, no servants, and no hope of return. When word reached Genghis Khan, he didn't celebrate. He simply ordered the campaign to continue until every city that once obeyed the Shah was gone. For the Mongols, this was no longer a war. It was cleansing by fire. Nishapur was one of Persia's richest and most beautiful cities, full of poets, scholars, and craftsmen. In 1221, it became the scene of one of the worst massacres in history. The Mongol general Tokuchar, Genghis Khan's son-in-law, was killed during the city's first siege. When the news reached Genghis's daughter, she demanded vengeance. Her father agreed. He sent reinforcements with a simple command: erase the city from the earth. The Mongols returned and surrounded Nishapur again. They breached its walls in days. What followed was complete annihilation. Every man, woman, and child was executed. Even animals were killed: horses, dogs, cats, anything that lived. Chroniclers wrote that more than 1 million people died, though the real number will never be known. When the killing stopped, the soldiers piled the skulls of the dead into pyramids outside the city. They burned everything that could burn and leveled everything that couldn't. The Mongol army moved on, leaving behind only silence and ash. Nishapur became the warning that kept other cities from resisting. It showed that the Mongols didn't need words to make their point. Their actions spoke louder than any threat. After Nishapur, 2 more great Persian cities remained, Merv and Herat. Both were wealthy centers of trade and learning, with huge populations. Both believed they could avoid destruction by surrendering peacefully. When the Mongols arrived at Merv, the city's governor came out with the keys to the gates. He begged for mercy and promised loyalty. The Mongols accepted the keys, entered the city quietly, and ordered the people to gather in the open. Once the crowd was assembled, the killing began. Men, women, and children were executed where they stood. The city's houses were looted, then burned. Every garden, field, and canal was destroyed. What had been one of Persia's most advanced centers of irrigation became a desert. Herat tried a similar tactic. Its leaders sent gifts and hostages, hoping to buy safety. But a group of rebels inside the city attacked the Mongol garrison a few days later, killing several soldiers. Genghis Khan's response was immediate. He ordered the city destroyed. The Mongols entered again, this time with no negotiation. Every adult male was killed. The rest were sold into slavery. Herat burned for days. By the time the smoke cleared, the Khwarezmian Empire no longer existed. Persia had been reduced to rubble and fear. The survivors fled west toward Baghdad, spreading stories of the Mongols' wrath. In less than 2 years, one of the largest empires in the Islamic world had been wiped from the map. By the end of 1221, the Mongols had destroyed the Khwarezmian Empire completely. No army was left, no capital, no ruler. From the Jaxartes to the Persian Gulf, the land was covered in ruins. The Silk Road, which had once connected China to the west, now ran through ash and silence. Cities that had stood for centuries vanished in weeks. Bukhara, Samarkand, Nishapur, Merv, and Herat, once proud centers of culture and trade, were reduced to empty plains. The Mongols tore down irrigation canals, burned fields, and killed farmers who tried to rebuild. Persia's agriculture collapsed. Famine and disease followed. Chroniclers who survived described entire regions where not a single village remained standing. The Mongols took what they needed, horses, slaves, and artisans, and destroyed the rest. Historians estimate that millions died during the invasion, though the true number will never be known. To the Mongols, this was justice. They believed they were punishing betrayal and dishonor. To the people who lived there, it was the end of the world. When Genghis Khan finally withdrew his armies, he left nothing behind except ruins and fear. But he also left control. The lands of the former Khwarezmian Empire now belonged to him. The Mongols had proven they could destroy any power that opposed them. Within 2 years, they had erased one of the largest empires on Earth. No one else in history had done that so quickly. The conquest of Persia changed the shape of the medieval world. It showed that the Mongols were not just raiders. They were a global force that could conquer empires and hold them. With the fall of the Khwarezmian Empire, the Mongols opened the road westward. From Persia, they would move into the Caucasus, Russia, and eventually Eastern Europe. Their generals learned how to fight in every terrain, deserts, cities, and mountains. Their siege engineers mastered the technology of the Islamic world and combined it with steppe tactics. Persia's destruction also broke the balance of power across the Middle East. The Caliph in Baghdad, the rulers of Anatolia, and even the Crusader states all realized that the Mongols could reach them next. Fear spread faster than their armies. Economically, the Silk Road was paralyzed. Trade between East and West almost stopped for a generation. Merchants avoided Central Asia, and caravans rerouted through India or by sea. The region's population collapsed. It would take centuries for it to recover. But the conquest also spread Mongol administration across Asia. Genghis Khan used Persian officials to manage taxes and trade in his new empire. The Mongols adopted parts of Persian bureaucracy, mathematics, and astronomy. Out of the ruins, a new system of global exchange slowly began to form. The destruction of Persia was a warning to the world, but it was also the foundation of the largest land empire in history. After 1221, every ruler from China to the Mediterranean knew what the Mongols were capable of, and what happened to those who defied them. The Mongol conquest of Persia remains one of the most devastating campaigns ever recorded. In less than 3 years, an entire civilization was broken, but it also marked the start of a new age, one ruled by the horse and the bow, by strategy and speed instead of walls and pride. Genghis Khan's army showed that loyalty and discipline could defeat wealth in numbers. They fought in small, coordinated groups, used deception, and adapted to every obstacle. Where most empires grew slowly, the Mongols expanded like wildfire. For Persia, the consequences lasted for centuries. Entire cities disappeared forever. Fields turned to dust. But over time, new towns rose from the ashes, built by Mongols and Persians together. The empire that destroyed also learned to govern. Mongol rulers married local women, rebuilt trade routes, and supported scholars. The Persian language and culture eventually survived under Mongol rule, changed, but not erased. Genghis Khan died in 1227, never seeing how far his conquests would reach. His sons and grandsons continued what he began, carrying the empire from the Pacific to the heart of Europe. Yet even among those later victories, Persia stood apart. It was the campaign that announced to the world what the Mongols truly were: unstoppable, ruthless, and organized beyond imagination. Historians still debate Genghis Khan's motives. Was he avenging his honor, spreading order, or simply pursuing power? Whatever the reason, the result was the same. The Khwarezmian Empire was gone, and a new world had begun. In the lands once filled with scholars and traders, only ruins and silence remained. Travelers for generations would look upon those ruins and remember the words of those who survived. They came, they burned, they killed, and they left nothing. The Mongols would go on to conquer half the known world. But in Persia, their power reached its most terrible form. The steppe had burned the Silk Road, and the fire changed history forever.